Jansen, how quickly do you think I can start selling with Amazon FBA? Do you think I'll be able to quit my job and be a full-time seller in the next month? This is something that I get asked so frequently that I've decided to do a video on the topic. So this week's video is going to be talking about how long I think it will take you or the average person watching from going from zero, a beginner, to hero, an actual Amazon FBA seller. So what I've decided to do is kind of put a bit of context around my answer. We're going to run through my journey, how long it took me to go from being a complete beginner to being a seller, and then I'm going to talk about the kind of average results that I expect people to kind of follow, which is just based on the results of my own students and people that I've helped in the Facebook group. Okay, so let's actually start off with my journey. So for those of you that are new to the channel or just don't really remember where I kind of came from, so I was a little baby in the Amazon FBA world until around December 2017. That's when I first not only discovered it, but kind of properly understood what it was. And at that point, I remember seeing videos on YouTube and I thought, I'm going to actually do this myself. I'm just going to watch YouTube videos and I'm going to be a full-time seller in 2 months. Well, fast forward to the end of May, so just over 5 months, no, just about 5 months later, and it was the bank holiday. I remember bank holiday in May, and I had made zero progress. I'd watched about 10 videos. I still didn't really have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have anybody to kind of push me along, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to enroll on a mentorship program. I'm going to follow a course and I'm just going to get this done. So 28th of May, it was a bank holiday, 28th of May 2018 is the day that I actually took action and enrolled on a course. And for that reason, 28th of May is my day zero. That's when I actually thought my real journey started. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I needed to do. I knew what tools I needed, and so on and so on. So when I'm talking about my journey here, how long it took me to do things, 28th of May is the reference date, so the start of my journey. So day zero is when I started to properly understand what it takes to be an Amazon FBA seller, what it takes to sell a good product, what you need to do, and so on. And from that point onwards is when I started to do my product research. Now, product research is undoubtedly, as I mentioned in last week's video, one of the hardest parts of doing Amazon FBA. It's very testing of your patience, it can be quite boring, and it is just generally very challenging. And it's this stage of the journey that kind of separates people between those that really want it and can show that they're motivated and determined, and those that kind of don't really want it and they're kind of just looking for any opportunity to make money. But me, I was not going to let product research get me down. I was determined and I was not going to give up. So for the next 4 or 5 weeks, every night after I got back from work, which was pretty late, I worked in banking, so I was doing like 60 to 70 hour weeks. I was getting back at like 9 or 10 p.m. On the commute, or when I got back from work, I was on my phone looking for different product opportunities. And at the weekends as well, I was spending whatever free time I had just scrolling through Amazon, looking through Alibaba, using all the different techniques basically to find a product. And, you know, as I've just mentioned, this period was very challenging for me, but I was just not going to let this opportunity pass me by. I really wanted a second income to kind of reduce my anxiety and stress from work. And I was just like, Jansen, you're not giving up. So 1st of July, about 5 weeks later, was the big day. I have actually looked through all of my emails historically, so all of these dates are correct. So 1st of July is the day that I found a product finally that I thought ticked quite a few of the boxes. It didn't tick all of the boxes. It definitely wasn't a perfect product, but it had good sales, it had a good level of profitability, and above all, I kind of found an area that I could differentiate and stand out versus my competitors. So as soon as I found this product, I reached out to all of the different suppliers for it on Alibaba, and then things really started to snowball. The next day, the 2nd of July, I woke up, checked my emails, and I had quite a few responses from suppliers. I looked at all of those responses, and then I chose a supplier who I kind of resonated with the most, who I liked the most, and I ordered a sample. So I was getting really excited because just 2 days prior, I didn't even have a product to sell. And 2 days later, I found a product and I'd already ordered samples. So it was kind of picking up quite rapidly, I thought. So that was 2nd of July. Then for the next few days, I was thinking of brand names and logos, things that I could kind of put onto the product to make me stand out. And on the 7th of July is the date that I actually came up with the brand name and I started to think about a logo. So that was 7th of July, just 5 days after ordering the sample and 6 days after finding the product itself. Then on the 9th of July is when my sample arrived and I genuinely felt like a kid at Christmas. Even though the product wasn't for my use, it was a women's product, I was so excited to rip open the packaging, to try the product out, to see if it worked. And it basically kind of crystallized the whole opportunity for me. It made me feel like this thing was very real and I was hopefully soon going to be an Amazon FBA seller. So that was on the 9th of July, and then after that is when things started to become even more real, because I knew that having reviewed the sample, this is a product that I wanted to sell. It was something that I thought I could sell well. So it was now squeaky bum time and I'd actually have to place an order. So on the 18th of July, so guys, this is just under 3 weeks later now, from when I actually found the product. On the 18th of July is when I placed my order for 1,000 units. So I paid my deposit and I said to my supplier, put it into production. This is when it became very, very real. So that was on the 18th of July and my supplier said it's going to take about a month or so to get these 1,000 units manufactured and dispatched. So in the meantime, go and enjoy yourself, have a beer, whatever. But obviously being an entrepreneur, I was like, no, I need to make sure that I smash this. So whilst that was being done in the background, I was taking photos of the sample that I had. I was writing my title, writing my bullets, my listing, basically just making sure that the listing was going to blow everything out the water. So I looked at the timestamps on my photos and I took them on the 2nd of August. So this is now just a month after I found the product. And I remember on that day, I went down to Dunelm Mill and I bought a tile and props and stuff to go into the background of my photos. I thought I wanted to take them myself. I had a DSLR camera, so I thought I can give it a good go. And I did. I've kind of got a bit of photography experience from just historically going traveling and stuff. So I thought, put those skills to use. So I took all of my photos and then I think actually then I kind of thought, well, I've done everything I need to do now. So I chilled out a bit. And then on the 14th of August is when my goods were dispatched, my 1,000 units. And then on the 31st of August, that again I think was a bank holiday, is when my first product sold with Amazon FBA. So if we now just go to the summary of the timeline, where I've kind of put days and weeks, if you think of the first day of my journey when I officially started things is that 28th of May, day 0. You can see here the time scale it took me to go from 0 to actually selling. So all in all, it took me around 5 weeks to find a product that I liked, a product that I had confidence in. It took me 7 weeks before I actually placed an order. So just a 2-week gap there. So you can see it there's not much time at all from when you actually find your product to actually placing your order. And then in terms of going from 0 to actually selling, it was 14 weeks in total. So that's my answer of how long did it take me to go from very little, 0, basically no knowledge of Amazon FBA, to actually selling with Amazon FBA. So now let's flip to what I think it will take most other people on average. I mean, I was an average seller back then. I had no experience, but based on the level of interaction I've had with my students and people in the Facebook group, I would say that the answer to how long does it take you to start selling with Amazon FBA, and it is a bit of an ambiguous answer, but the answer is it really does vary based on the person themselves. There's lots of different variables that play into it, and I'm going to outline now what those variables are and how it might impact you and how long it takes you to start selling with Amazon FBA. Okay, so the different metrics that really play into how long it's going to take you to become an Amazon FBA seller are, First of all, your knowledge and understanding of Amazon FBA. If you're just starting today and you have got zero knowledge or experience of e-commerce, of Amazon FBA, of importing, whatever, then obviously it's going to take you a bit longer to get to the position of being a seller versus somebody that's been watching YouTube videos for a while, or at least has some understanding of how it all works. So if you have zero knowledge whatsoever of anything, then I would say you can at least add on 1 to 2 weeks of like downtime, research time before you're going to be in a position to actually start doing your product research. And again, what will play into that is your free time. So if you have a full-time job, if you're very busy at the weekends, then that 1 to 2 weeks is obviously going to extend a bit wider because you just haven't got the time to dedicate to learning about what Amazon FBA is and what you need to do to find a product. Now, you can use me as an example. You know, I said earlier on in the video that I was working in banking at the time, doing 60 to 70-hour weeks, but I was so hungry and determined to make it work that I used any downtime I had to basically understand and research Amazon FBA even more. So I was looking on my phone on my commute to and from work. I was looking on my lunch breaks, in any free time I had in the evenings and at weekends. So you know, if you are quite a busy person, don't let that 1 to 2 week thing put you off. Just kind of think, you know, if you're hungry and determined to make a go of this, then you can do it much quicker than that in terms of understanding what Amazon FBA is. So 1 to 2 weeks, I would say, is kind of average for people that don't have any experience of Amazon FBA and want to learn about it. Then what also plays into it is your level of risk, your attitude to risk. So this is something I also spoke about in last week's video, where people are wasting a lot of time doing product research because they are just convincing themselves that any product that they find isn't good enough, it's not a perfect product, it's not a 10 out of 10, etc., etc. And that all comes down to the level of risk that that person is comfortable with. As I mentioned earlier, when I was doing my product research and I found the product that I really wanted to sell, I knew that it wasn't perfect, but I knew it was good enough and I knew that I could have a good go at it. And, you know, that was a bit of a risky approach. I knew that there was some element of risk there of not being able to sell out or, you know, to basically sell these products at a profit. But I accepted that and I was like, the only way I'm actually going to do this is by actually doing it rather than convincing myself not to. So in terms of how long it's going to take you on your Amazon FBA journey, you need to also consider your level of risk and how much you're willing to accept. Remember, we're entrepreneurs, this is business, there's always going to be a bit of risk involved. So the sooner that you can accept that, the sooner that you're going to be able to make progress on your journey and start selling with Amazon FBA. The next thing that's going to impact how quickly you can start selling with Amazon FBA is your startup capital. Now, I do get quite a lot of people messaging me that say they've got £500 or £600 and they want to do Amazon FBA. And I always say you really need to have at the very least £1,000. Ideally, it should be more, 1,500, because not only have you got to buy stock, but you've also got to think about professionalizing your product. So having a nice brand logo on it, having good photos, having a good listing, and so on and so on. So I would say really 1,000 to 1,500 is the very lowest that you should be starting with. I do get people that start their product research that don't really have that money at all, but that's fine. But you just need to kind of take that into consideration. That's going to impact how long it's going to take you to actually start selling. So, you know, as I say, I have students of mine that start with, say, £700, and whilst they're doing their product research, they're saving more in the background. But because of that, it's taking them a bit longer. So that, again, is something that you'll need to consider when thinking about how long it's going to take you to actually start selling with Amazon FBA. So based on my own experiences and the experiences of my students and people in the Facebook group, I would say that on average, it takes people between 4 and 5 months to actually start selling or to be in a position where they're ready to launch a product with Amazon FBA. Now, the key thing that I want to hit home here, guys, is Don't beat yourself up if it's taking you longer than that, okay? Everyone is different. As I was saying earlier on in the video, we've all got different amounts of startup capital, different amounts of, different attitudes to risk, different levels of experience, and so on and so on. It's not a race. You're setting up a real business here that needs to be done correctly. And if you rush things, if you think, I want to get everything done in 2 months or 3 months or whatever, it's more than likely you're going to make mistakes that probably are going to be quite costly. So hopefully now you guys have got a bit of a better understanding of how the whole timeline works with Amazon FBA. As I say, it varies from person to person. Me personally, it took me 14 weeks to go from very little knowledge of Amazon FBA to actually being a seller. It takes everyone different amount of time, but the number one thing that I wanted to hit home here, guys, is don't beat yourself up if it's taking you longer. Everyone's got their own different attitudes to risk, the different levels of experience, different levels of startup capital. The important thing is that you stay dedicated to the cause, that you don't give up, and you just stay persistent, because honestly, persistence is the one thing that is going to reward you in this game. Just staying determined and focused and being like, I'm not going to give up. So best of luck, guys. If you do have any questions about my journey or just about Amazon FBA in general, feel free to post in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you next time for another Amazon FBA tutorial video.